Everywhere you look today, you're surrounded by one scam or another, be it get-rich-quick schemes, crypto telegram groups, or pension contributions. With all these scams and tricks, you might wonder, how did it get so bad that man should want to readily betray one another so easily? Well, I'm here to tell you that the art of the scam is actually as old as civilization itself. The methods may have changed, but the underlying aim to get ahead at the expense of others is thousands of years old, maybe even millions. So in today's video, we'll be looking at ancient scams and ancient scammers. Starting off with a somewhat infamous scammer, because of a meme, we will be looking at Nazar, the world's greatest copper vendor. Nazar lived in 18th century Mesopotamia BC in Ur by what is now known as the Persian Gulf. Nazar was a businessman who worked with the Alec Tillman Merchant Guild and was actually one of the more successful copper traders at the time. Nazar also dipped his toes into selling finished metal products and other things, but his main income source came from selling copper ingots. Surprisingly enough, at the beginning of his career, he honoured his debts and was seen as a trustworthy businessman. But after an extended stay in Dilmun, he began to trade less honestly. So much so that he began to get complaints about his copper, specifically about failures to deliver, and when he did deliver, it was of copper that was subpar. His web of deceit is quite confusing, so I'm going to explain it using a spider diagram. Kind of, anyway. Central to the diagram we have Nazar, and directly beside him we have his business partner and middleman, well, Sigmund Freud Salmonella might have gotten away with it, but I'm probably not as lucky, so I'll just call him Nana. Anyway, our first complaint in cuneiform tablet form is from Arbitorum, who writes, "And give the silver and its profit to Nana. I have made you issue a tablet. Why have you not given me the copper? If you do not give it, I will recall your pledges. Good copper, give again and again." He then ends it by saying, "Send me a man," which I like. Is it threatening? Is it a sign of romantic interest? Who knows? What we do know is that Nazar didn't resolve this and send Arbitorum his copper, so he sends him another complaint tablet. This time it reads, "Why have you not given the copper to Nana? Idinum says that the copper that Nana has received is mine. Be kind enough to give the copper, as much as he has a claim on you, to Nana." So I'm guessing that Arbitorum did receive some copper from Nazar through Nana, but it was actually promised to Idinum. I'm also guessing that Arbitorum took the copper promised to Idinum and is now telling Nazar to make him whole. Because of this chicanery, Idinum also wrote a complaint to Nazar, sarcastically telling him that the work that you have done is so good. The literary device of the stretching of words to make them ironic seems to span millennia. Taking the piss seems to be a timeless pastime, and I am all for it. He continues, "1 year ago, I paid silver in a foreign country. You shall hold back only bad copper. Please bring your copper." I'm starting to think that if Nazar is continually scamming you, yet you continue to do business with him, you kinda deserve it. They're acting as if he was the only copper trader in ancient Mesopotamia, the way that they would clamour for his trade. He also had a few more complaints from others such as Appa, who wrote, "The copper of mine, give it to Nana, good copper, in order that my heart shall not be troubled." Very poetic. It's a shame that this writing style didn't survive ancient times. Just imagine writing an email to your boss like, "I pray that this email finds you in good health. At your request, I have enclosed within thine inbox a copy of this winter's financial reports. The days of dark evenings are subsiding and spring arises. May the coming seasons be bountiful and good. God be with you, Stoic Stick, Regional Assistant Manager, McDonald's." Cutaway gag aside, you might have noticed that I've added 2 more onto the spider diagram, and that's because I did. Glad we cleared that up. But we have our final and longest complaint, from the most famous of all of Nazar's disgruntled customers. He wrote on both sides of a cuneiform tablet, which is an arduous task. It probably took him many hours, or even the better part of a day, just sitting there digging into a stone tablet just so he could get across how much Nazar pissed him off. It starts, "Now, when you had come, you spoke saying thus, I will give good ingots to Gimil Sin. This you said to me when you had come, but you have not done it. You have offered bad ingots to my messenger, saying, if you will take it, take it. If you will not take it, go away. Who am I that you are treating me in this manner? Treating me with such contempt, and that between gentlemen such as we are. I have written to you to receive my money, but you have neglected it. Repeatedly, you have made them return to me empty-handed through foreign country. Who is there amongst the Dilmun traders who has acted against me in this way? You have treated my messenger with contempt. And further, with regard to the silver that you have taken with you from my house, you make this discussion? And on your behalf I gave 18 talents of copper to the palace, and Sumi Abum also gave 18 talents of copper. Apart from the fact we issued the sealed document to the temple of Samas, with regard to that copper, as you have treated me, you've held back my money in a foreign territory, although you are obligated to hand it over to me intact. You will learn that here in Ur I will not accept from you copper that is not good. In my house I will choose and take ingots one by one. Because you have treated me with contempt, I shall exercise against you my right of selecting the copper. Even with all the trouble Nazar has put him through, delaying his payments, not returning his money, etc., he still wrote to him with such niceties. If it was me, I'd probably have an assassin hired and have him put to death or something. Like, this was BC times, when you could get away with it pretty easily, and also assassins were readily available. What is even funnier is that Nazar, knowing those same facts, continued to do dodgy dealings and scam anyone he could. So honestly, just for the absolute gumption of it, I have to hand it to him. He was truly dedicated to his scamming. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on whose side you're on, Nazar's tale has a somewhat sad ending. Apparently, his shady business practices eventually got the better of him and his wealth depleted, forcing him to sell off parts of his house. He also had to get out of the copper business into other ventures as people started to refuse doing business with him. And that's the end of the tale of Nazar, the copper conman extraordinaire. Think of all the epic tales of heroism that have been lost to the annals of history, and yet many now know the name of a copper conman from 4,000 years ago. Maybe people are drawn to this story because we can relate to the frustrations of customer service the same way that Nazar's customers did, but I think it's because he was the single greatest copper vendor in all of human history. I'm willing to bet that you couldn't even name another vendor from any other time period. That just goes to show how great he was at his craft. Anyway, Nazar's tale is not the only tale of ancient scamming. There are others that are just as interesting in my opinion, such as the tale of the earliest recorded attempt at insurance fraud. Hege Stratos was a Greek sea merchant that did business moving cargo on his ship. At the time in 300 BC, there used to be a type of insurance called bottomry. 2300 years ago, bottomry was a profession, and now, well, I guess people are still paid for bottomry today, now that I think about it. Anyway, ancient bottomry was when a merchant would take out a loan under the assumption that the loan would be repaid with interest when the merchant's ship with its cargo would reach its destination and sell the goods for a higher price. This is all good, but Hege Stratos was a gambling man. He gambled that he could send out his ship empty without the goods and sink it, which, per the contract, would nullify the loan and allow him to keep the cargo as well as the money. He sends the ship out without the goods and begins to try and sink it, much to the dismay of his crew, who immediately are like, "Excuse me, what the heck?" and then chase him off his own ship, leading to him drowning trying to escape them. He really didn't think that his crew may object to him trying to sink the ship with all of them on it. Now, this may seem controversial, but scamming insurance companies gets the stoic stick seal of approval. I have been slighted by my car insurance company recently, those greedy parasites. So now, if I hear a tale of a business going up in flames, and there are rumours of it being an inside job for the insurance payout, then I say, good for them. So although Hege Stratos had a double-digit IQ, his heart was in the right place, and really, that's all that matters. Our final tale of ancient scamming takes us back to the days of the Roman Empire, right after the Praetorian Guard murdered the then Emperor Pertinax in 193 AD. They then do what any reasonable group of men do, and that is to auction off the entire empire to the highest bidder. Yes, they actually try to sell the Roman Empire. Sulpicianus began to make offers for the empire, willing to pay 20,000 sestertii to every Praetorian guard, which there were around 8,000 at the time, so all in all he was willing to pay around 160 million sestertii. Accounting for inflation and the silver content of the coins at the time, the rate was around $2.6 per sestertii, which means he offered $416 million. He however was beaten by Julianus, who wasn't even invited to the auction, but shouted over the guards that he would pay 25,000 per guard, for a total of $520 million. Which, if they didn't even invite you to the auction, it really says something about how much they respected you. Anyway, buying the Roman Empire for $500 million is a steal because it was producing a GDP of around 18 billion sestertii, or around 46 billion US dollars. So with such a great deal, he must have been really lucky, right? Well, no. Because the same Praetorian guard who sold him the empire betrayed him and worked with Severus Septimus to have him deposed shortly after. So if you look at it one way, they kinda scammed him out of his money. He ruled for a total of 63 days, and in that time span, he was hated by the public so much that on one occasion they even publicly stoned him. I mean, he did decrease the value of all their money by decreasing the silver content as soon as he took the empire, which wasn't received too well. In my opinion, what he should have done was slowly inflated the money away by printing more and more each year for pointless wars, decreasing the purchasing power of the people, but do it slow enough so that most don't notice. But for that you need a type of money that wasn't tied to any physical materials like silver or gold, kind of like what we have today. But no, I'm overthinking things. The government loves you, paying taxes is cool, and anyone who tells you otherwise is a crazy conspiracy theorist. So that's all we have for today's video about ancient scamming. Maybe 4,000 years into the future, one of you guys will leave a legacy like Nazar. Maybe it'll be me. Maybe. Anyways, that's all we have time for today. If you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing, but other than that, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.